Back in January, Ne Zha 2 released in China. A week later, it made $1 billion. 2 weeks later, it made $2 billion. And the week after that, it was in the top 5 highest grossing films of all time. Which is crazy because no one here knows about the film. But I was able to watch it back in February. Once I heard all these headlines of how much money it was actually making, I knew I had to watch it. I watched it back in February. I have a review up on this channel of my fresh reaction right from it. But ever since then, I've been dying to rewatch this film. It's nowhere because it's all the way from China. There's no physical release, there's no streaming release because it's all the way across the world. I have no way to watch this movie. So when I heard they were re-releasing this thing in theaters, this time in English, I knew I had to watch it because I probably wouldn't be able to watch it for a long time after that. So, this video is my thoughts on the dubbed version of Ne Zha 2 and my thoughts on just rewatching it in general. This is not my fresh take. I have seen this movie before. If you want my fresh take, I have a review of that like I mentioned. Go watch that. But this is very much a rewatch. It's more for people who have seen this movie before. I won't spoil anything, but this video will just make more sense if you have actually seen the movie. This is not a review. It's more of like a thoughts after rewatching it a second time. And finally getting to rewatch it 6 months later only proves that this is still my favorite film of the year. Now let's talk about the dubbed release, because dubs can be hit or miss a lot of the times. Anime, a lot of dubs can be good, but also a lot can absolutely suck. Squid Game, the dub version, is some moments are weird, some moments work, but sub is normally better. One of my favorite animes, DBZ, that has a pretty good dub. In fact, half the time, I find myself watching the dub over the sub because I like the voice cast of dub. But I can say that sub is better most of the time. So when it comes to Ne Zha 2, I can say that this is a really good dub. I was actually really surprised on how this dub turned out. Now yes, it's a dub. It has the same problems that any English dub would have, is that the lips don't line up with anything that they're saying, which is not really a problem you can avoid if you want the same plot. But other than that, everyone in this cast does an amazing job. I haven't seen the sub version in so long, and I don't know when I'll be able to rewatch that version again. But judging from memory, it was a really good dub. But since the entire movie is in subtitles and this is a 2.5-hour movie, you can miss a few things here and there. That's why when a dubbed version releases, you can always notice a few things that you never noticed the first time because you can actually hear it this time and not reading the entire movie. So I got a lot of that this time around watching this movie in dubbed. There's a lot of lines in here that I didn't remember or didn't catch the first time because it's actually in dubbed. Or change it up. Dub does that a lot. But everyone in the cast does an amazing job. They're able to capture the rage that Ne Zha goes through, the emotional moments that Ne Zha goes to, and overall, this is a really good dub. It's not one of those cheap dubs that they just throw out there, which I don't know why I expected that. It's from A24, and this is a very popular movie. Obviously, it's the top 5 highest grossing movie of all time. So obviously, there's going to be work put into this movie, and it showed in the actual dub. Now I just need to rewatch sub so I can actually compare the two better. But real quick, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1K by the end of the year, consider subscribing. Let's continue. Now, like I mentioned at the start, rewatching this movie only solidified it even more that it was still my favorite movie of the year. Rewatching it again, I realized just how much I forgot and remembered all at the same time, because when it comes to the characters, the story, the animation, the action, all of it just builds together to make this movie. The animation, half the time I was so tempted to take out my phone and take a picture of the screen to put it as my wallpaper because it just looks absolutely beautiful. Especially in that final act during all those action scenes, there are a lot of moments in there where the animation is absolutely gorgeous. And I was so tempted just to take a picture of it so I can have it as a wallpaper because like I mentioned, I have no idea when this movie's coming out again. When will I be able to get that wallpaper? In my original review, I compared it a lot to DBZ action, and that is still very much the case, except that the animation just makes all of it look 10 times better. One of my pros with the first movie is that The action in the final act is easily the best part of that movie. Well, this time in the second film, the action is non-stop. We can see why this movie took 5 years to put out because the animation and action is a huge step up. The animation looks phenomenal every time an action scene is on play, and an action scene is on play every 10 minutes. The movie consistently moves at a rapid pace, making you hooked the entire time and you're never feeling at a down point. In my original review, I said one of my problems with the film is that the pacing felt a little long. That did not happen this time around, because the movie just moves at an incredibly fast pace. This is a very niche film. It feels like anime, but that all worked for me. It may not work for everybody because it's in that very niche category, but if Ne Zha is your thing, if anime is your thing, although this film isn't technically anime, Ne Zha is that perfect film. And ever since I watched it in February, I have now learned more about the mythology of the Ne Zha character. I have seen all the animated films, I have known more about the universe, so I have a lot more knowledge of this character, and I only like this movie even more because of that. I know I just rewatched it, but I can't wait to rewatch it again eventually, because there's a lot more things I want to see in this movie. I want to rewatch that final battle all over again because that is easily the best part of this movie. This time around, this movie has a wider release, IMAX 3D, maybe 4DX, I'm not sure. But if you have the opportunity to watch it in IMAX, definitely do. The animation will look 10 times better than it actually already does. My IMAX theater wasn't showing it for some reason, I don't know why, but I watched it in D-Box, which is essentially 4DX, and all those action scenes really moved the chairs around and only helped my experience even more. Now, I do have a small nitpick. There's 2 potty humor jokes, one worked, one didn't. They could have taken one out easily. There's no reason for either of these to be in here though. And there's those classic anime jokes that really only work to those anime audiences. Some of that worked, some of that didn't, and it's pretty obvious which jokes are anime and which ones aren't. Because this is a Chinese film, different culture, different jokes land for other people. So some of those jokes obviously don't work over here. Some do though. And another positive for this film actually having a dub release now is that a lot more people now know about the film. Back in February when it came out in America, it was a very limited release. But now, it's dubbed, released by A24. It's everywhere. IMAX screens, everything. A lot more people now know about this film, especially since it's made $2 billion. So coming from someone that actually watched the film back in February, it's just nice to see everyone now talking about it. Everyone I follow on social media now is now talking about the film and they didn't before. It's just nice seeing all this chatter around this film now, and I so appreciate that. Making this IP even more well known, and making him even more popular than he was before. Sure, it's not going to reach China numbers, but at least more people in America know about this character now, thanks to this new American release, this new dubbed release. It's having a much more worldwide release thanks to A24. But Ne Zha 2 is still as great as it was back in February. This time we have a dubbed release and it's just as good as the sub. I know I just rewatched this film, but I can't wait to rewatch it again because I just remembered how great of a final act this was and how much it actually feels like DBZ, but in China. I know more about the mythology of this character now. I know more about the world. Makes me even more excited for Ne Zha 3. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side ones you too. Like, subscribe, see you guys next time. Goodbye.